why don't we get into the secondary school process a little bit and kind of how it starts and what conversations you're having with families when and just all the overview.
Yeah, I think that it's always funny to talk about the calendar for secondary schools because the application process, we're so used to admissions having their own calendar. You have your own dates. We have the actual school year calendar that starts in September and goes until May. And I always tell people that my kind of year and caseload ends on April 10th and my new one starts on April 11th, which seem like these really arbitrary dates. But that's when we do the trade-off between our ninth graders being in their position to pick their schools and sign the contracts, pay those deposits, and when we start working with our eighth graders. So April 11th is kind of my traditional like first day of school almost, which again feels really weird at the end of the actual school year. But that's really when we kick off the process. That's when we send out the first email to all the eighth graders and their families, kind of welcoming them officially into the process and talking them through what the next few months will look like. Everything from individual conversations, meetings, phone calls, and Zooms with families. Plenty of forms for us to gather information. And of course, our secondary school fair, which is where we're lucky enough to jam a lot of schools into our dining hall. I think we broke the record last year and had close to 75. I want to say it was 74 on the actual day of. Hoping that once we get the gym renovation all done, we'll be able to jump in there and break that record pretty easily. But yeah, just a really great chance in the spring for rising ninth graders and their families to just slowly see all the options that are out there. And it's a great time for them to just kind of walk around, pick up some swag, learn a little bit about what's out there. Oh, the swag is a huge part of this, right? Everyone knows that swag
Stickers, is candies, you got all the good stuff.
The best schools always have the bags, though, right? Yeah. That's where you got to go first, is you get the bag so you can fill it with stuff from the other school, right? Brochures, the opposite of the swag, the brochure. It's good to take the brochures, and the schools, of course, want you to take everything because it's just extra marketing and getting their name all over. They want you to take the pen and lose the pen and have someone pick it up so that their name gets out there more and more. Essentially, we take everything from that spring term, all those meetings, gathering all of our documentation, figuring out where kids are with their grades, getting a sense of what student leadership and service will look like for the next year. And we use that to just start with our proposed initial school list. Usually about 8 schools for boarders for them to start looking at, built from a much bigger pool of like 40 that are probably about good fits. And then over the summer, it just kind of becomes this exploration, back and forth, chatting, updating people on, how they are progressing in their search, figuring out what
research, right? Yeah. When did you first start really thinking about when did it become real? When you walked into the fair or when you got the email from Mr. Richards? When did you start thinking all right, this is we gotta dive deep, 2 feet, 1 foot in front of the other?
I think it was the email from Mr. Richards. I remember going back. No. I mean,
it is. It's so long.
I remember going back from school. It was the last day. I remember my dad reading me the email about applications and figuring out school lists and where he thinks I might end up, and that was a big realization of I actually I'm leaving.